Welcome to Knicks Home Court with your host. My name is Greg Armstrong. This is episode number 35. I've been away for a little while. Life takes place. This is a hobby of mine. And basically, the reason why I even started the Knicks Home Court is I felt like Knicks fans do not get any reliable analysis. It's always just hot takes and different narratives, and it's just boring to me. And when I listen to like ESPN New York or other ESPN outlets or any other national news, it's the same thing. Oh, the Knicks are a dumpster fire. Oh, the Knicks are this. And no real analysis on the players that are on the court. There's a couple of podcasts I do listen to, and folks, I would advise you to go listen to it. And one of them is Locked On Knicks podcast. I do not know Jared Dubin, but I think he does a good job. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. He does actual analysis. That's the best one. There's a couple of other ones, but I'm not really sure. I'm still checking them out. My thing is, it seems like when you listen to the sporting news nowadays or the sports talk, they all say the same thing. Okay, we get it. But as Knicks fans, we don't want to hear the same shit over and over again. And my point to Knicks fans, if you're feeling really upset with the direction or what's going on with the Knicks, and because I feel like Knicks fans are like an abused or jilted lover. Y'all need to step away for a minute. I'm not saying don't be a Knicks fan. Enjoy your summer. There's no games being played right now. Because Knicks fans seem like they're a glutton for punishment. See, me, I'm optimistic. And if I wasn't optimistic as a Knicks fan, guess what? I'm not paying attention. Turn it off and enjoy other parts of my life. You know what I'm saying? I don't understand. Excuse me, I'm in New York City. I'm doing this remotely. I just could not wait because I was listening to some sports talk and it got me frustrated, and I had to come back just because of that. So anyway, let me just give a quick review. Most of y'all know what's going on. Phil Jackson was fired or left or whatever you want to call it. I'm sure he was fired because if he left, he probably wouldn't get paid. So I'm sure he was probably fired. And one thing, you could say whatever you want to say about Jim Dolan. I'll tell you this. He pays his people. He pays his people. If you work for Jim Dolan, you're going to make some money. And then I'll get into the business side of the Knicks, being that the Knicks are the number one franchise in basketball according to business. Don't ever forget that. So I'll just say this, Knicks fans. If you want Dolan out, if you want anything to actually really change, if you're really that disgruntled, don't watch the games. Don't give them ratings. Don't go to the games. But they know you're a fan and you're going to continue to go, so it doesn't really matter. They're going to continue to rake in the dough because of their location and because it's the New York Knicks. So I choose to be optimistic because I think the Knicks are headed in the right direction, and I will get to that shortly. So now, Phil Jackson's been fired. The Knicks drafted... Well, I should reverse that. The Knicks drafted Frank Ntilikina, then Phil Jackson got fired. Now, let me just say something real quick. On draft night, I was bugging out. I was nervous. I was like, what's going to happen? And, and I did my evaluation of certain players. First, it was Malik Monk, and I came to the conclusion I didn't really want Malik Monk because one comparison I really think is a good one is Lou Williams. Even though Malik Monk is really lights out from three, I just don't see him as a number two or a number one on a team. That might prove me wrong. He might turn into Steph Curry too. Who knows? I don't know, because he can shoot it. He can shoot it. But I know he's a defensive liability if he's going to play the two guard. See, because eventually the two guard position is going to return to its glory. In other words, you're going to start to have really good two guards. You got Bradley Beal. You got DeMar DeRozan, you got Klay Thompson, you got some good two guards in the league. Eventually that position is going to fill up again, and Malik Monk is going to probably be a sixth man. And now Charlotte drafted Malik Monk, which I don't think is a good fit. I think their backcourt is tiny. They got a little guy 5'11". Yeah, it says 6 foot. He's 5'11". Kemba Walker, a scoring point guard. But the good thing is they'll be able to kick it out to Malik. He's a good player. He's an NBA player. I think he's good. He's not a good defensive player. So I really wasn't really feeling him after a while after doing my research. And then he's another guy that can go quiet. Sorry, folks. He's another guy that when you watch him play, I watched in the tournament, he's the type of guy that can go quiet for periods of time in the game if he's not scoring. And that's not the type of guy. That's, to me, he's like the 4th, 5th best player guy on your team, maybe 3rd if he's scoring a lot. But if he's not scoring, he's doing nothing else, and that's not what the Knicks need. So, brings me to my next guy. I really loved Donovan Mitchell. And yes, I'm probably, you're thinking I'm saying it after the fact. I'm going to give you my Twitter handle, which is Greg1918. Okay? It's at Greg1918. And you will see me tweet about Donovan Mitchell. I fell in love with Donovan Mitchell. I thought that Donovan Mitchell is a poor man's Dwayne Wade, just a little shorter. Yes, I think the kid can be pretty special both ways. My problem with Donovan Mitchell, though, is that he's not really a point guard. He's really an undersized 2. And yeah, he can learn to be a point guard, but I just saw him as an undersized 2, and I'm like, that's not fitting, because remember, your future is Kristaps Porzingis, and to a lesser extent, Hernan Gomez, who's only 22. Well, he's 23 now. So anybody I draft, unless they're like Markelle Fultz, anybody I draft has to be adding to what we already have. So that's why when I looked at him, I was like, he's not what we really need. Now let's get to Dennis Smith, a guy who I really liked as well. But I'm going to tell you the biggest problem I had with Dennis Smith is that he came off an ACL injury, and his game is literally athleticism. And I think we have an example of a player like that. He's literally coming off, and his comparisons is Derrick Rose, Baron Davis, 2 players who were injury prone. He's a 6'2", 6'3" point guard, and his game, I'm sorry, I just was a little nervous about his injury. I think he's going to be a star, though. I think he's going to be a very good player. See, but being a star doesn't mean you're a winning player. You can be a star and not be a winning player. Carmelo Anthony shows that. Even though I'm not trying to diss Carmelo Anthony, as good as Carmelo was last year and the year before, he could not bring his team to the playoffs. Why? Because Melo was a scorer. Melo's the type of guy that completes your team. That's why if he gets traded to Houston, he may help complete that team. Even though I don't think they'll be complete, but he's what you call a person that he needs other pieces that do the things that he doesn't do. So with Dennis Smith, like I said, he's going to put up big numbers, and I think his teams are going to be around 500. They'll probably be playoff teams. He's going to do some good things in the league, though. I do believe that. So now let's get to our pick, Frank Ntilikina. After extensive research, YouTube, I must admit, and I seen quite a bit of. I did see Malik Monk in college, because once the Knicks started losing, I just turned my attention to college, and I paid attention to all of that. That's why I fell in love with a couple of honorable mentions. Was I'm gonna let you know that kid Luke Cornett. I'm saying the right name? Oh God, the lefty sweet shooting guy from Duke. Because I think I'm getting him mixed up with the guy the Knicks actually drafted. Luke Kennard. I think he's going to be a very good player in the league. And I was okay if the Knicks would have drafted him because he's lights out. He's a lights out shooter, and he plays. He's not just a shooter. And he's 6'6". He's big. I think he's going to be a good player in the NBA. But I'm not mad we didn't draft him. Now let me get to Frank Ntilikina. I didn't want him at first, but the more I started to think about it, I said, wait a minute. There's something he's going to be able to do as soon as he comes into the league. Defend. What is the Knicks' biggest flaw? They needed a point guard who can defend. And that's the main thing. And if you look at most of the point guards in the league, they're not really good defenders. All these scorers are not really good defenders, except for Chris Paul. And you need a defense. We needed a player like that. Now, when I look at Donovan Mitchell, he looks like he's going to be a really plus defender in this league, and he has athletic abilities as well. You know, but when I look at Ntilikina, I'm like, well, he's younger, 18. He'll be 19 soon. He's bigger, and he has 7-foot wingspan. Now, a lot of people will say, well, you know, I'm a novice. What do I know about wingspan? Well, all I can do is comparison. Then I can use a little of my brain. But let me just do a comparison. Kawhi Leonard's 6'8" with a 7'3" wingspan. And one thing I noticed that Kawhi Leonard does a lot to whatever player is he's very good at picking your pocket because his arms are so long. He's standing to his right and he's just sticking his hand out to the left and picking your pocket. And he does this oftenly. And he can play the passing lanes as well. I'm not comparing. I'm just comparing 6'5", 7-foot wingspan. Some people say 7'1" wingspan. So, I love that. If he becomes an elite defender and an average offensive player, that's still good. Because guess what? You got an elite rim protector in Kristaps. If you put him at the 5. And even at the 4, he probably can hold his own more when the defense doesn't get broken down at the point of attack at all times. So we got a point guard who can defend the point of attack. And in this NBA, in today's NBA, that's probably the most important position you can have. Defense at the point of attack. Now, he's really a good three-point shooter as well. And then people don't tell me about, I'm going to tell you something, don't tell me about his stats. People want to talk about his stats in France. First of all, nobody on that team who went to the championship averaged over 15 points. I think the highest leading scorer was like 13 points or something like that. They share the ball in that system. So they don't score a lot of points in that system. There's nobody, it's not like the NBA where somebody's averaging 25 and somebody's averaging 19. It just don't work that way. That's not how they play there. Not only that, they trying to win a championship. They're not trying to audition him for the Knicks. And by the way, he was an 18-year-old playing on a team in France that's going for the championship against grown men. And everybody says that competition is better than college competition. He contributed to winning. And what I like is I believe that Frank Ntilikina, will be a stat filler. He reminds me of a guy. He's probably, let's just say, I'm not going to say ceiling or floor. I'm not going to get into that. But he seems like a guy that can average like maybe, 15 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, 1 block. Like, he's going to be a guy like that. Ntilikina, to me, represents a type of player that if he's not scoring, he's still affecting the game with his defense. Or he'll hit a key shot, or he'll make a key pass, or a key play. High IQ player that realizes if I'm not scoring, I'm still going to affect this game. Those, my fellow Knicks fans, are winning players. They are winning players. Y'all, I don't know if y'all remember Charlie Ward. I didn't understand basketball as much as I do now. Charlie Ward is a winning player. No, he wasn't a scorer or nothing like that, but he contributed to winning basketball. And the star of this show on the Knicks is Kristaps Porzingis. He's going to take us to the promised land, not Ntilikina. Ntilikina is a help. He's a table setter. But if he can play lockdown defense, if he becomes a lockdown first-team defense, if he becomes a doggone elite defender, come on, really? I hear every Knicks fan saying that Knicks need defense, Knicks need defense. And yet we're mad that the Knicks didn't draft offensive players who don't play defense. Think about that. We complain about Melo all the time. Melo doesn't play D. But draft a player who doesn't play defense, who has really good offense. That's what we need to do. That's the solution. Trade Melo and draft a guy who doesn't play defense so I can watch him fly through the air and do special things. No. I thought that was, so I'm actually happy and excited about Ntilikina, and not on the offensive end. I'm waiting for the first time when some NBA point guard casually brings the ball up and gets ripped. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for, because this is a pick and roll league. If you got a guy who can slip picks and can defend like he can and defend the point guard position, he's a disruptor to other teams. Look what Klay Thompson did in the finals against Kyrie. Yeah, Kyrie got his, but Klay Thompson slowed him down and allowed Steph Curry to do his thing. You need one of your guards to be elite defensively. All right, so let me move on from that. Now, I was saying Phil Jackson was fired. Yes, he got fired. And again, I was one of the people saying that, I don't think Phil Jackson should, I didn't appreciate Phil Jackson as a GM or president of basketball operations, hiring coaches and telling them how to coach. I hate it. I hated it from the beginning. But let me be clear, full disclosure, I love the triangle offense. I think the triangle offense is awesome. But it needed to be Jeff Hornacek's offense. It needed to be the offense that he wanted to run. And it wasn't the offense that he wanted to run. He just acquiesced to that. Because why? Hey, I need a job. I love the coach. This Kristaps Porzingis here, Carmelo Anthony. Of course he was going. Derrick Rose. Of course I took that job. But I always thought that it was like, yo, why are you trying to tell these people? And my thing is, what I do to help me understand a situation is I look at other situations. I look at things historically. And I said, let me look at the NFL. Has there ever been a general manager in the NFL or president in the NFL that tells a coach that run a team a certain way to pass the ball? I mean, we've had medalists like Jerry Jones, and has he won anything? I mean, Jimmy Johnson was a great coach, and he got rid of him because he didn't like him. Because owners, these big head owners, right? So let's look at basketball. Have you ever seen a president, unless he's the coach as well, tell a guy how to coach? You can't tell a guy what system to coach. Now, I do believe in system basketball. System basketball is very important. System basketball is what wins in the NBA, because at the end of the day, the system allows players to get good shots. That's why Utah was good. If you look at Golden State, they have very good individual talents, but they have a system in place. They move the ball, move their bodies. They definitely play system basketball. The Cleveland Cavaliers do not play system basketball, but they have really good offensive players, and they have LeBron, who is the system. LeBron is like the system. He bucks the system. But other than that, you need system basketball. If you look at Atlanta Hawks, that year they won 60 games, it's because they was running a system, a high-octane three-point shooting system. You need a system in the NBA. So I agree with Phil on that. I just thought that telling a coach to run a specific system, nah. Either you let the coach, hey, you're not winning, you're fired, and that's it. That's all. There's no either or. That's it. Or you hire a coach who just runs a triangle. And I felt like Phil Jackson, to me, was guilty of something that, even though I like Carmelo, something Carmelo has been guilty of more or less in his prime, when he was about 28. See, you got players who want to just win regardless. And you got players who want to be the reason why their team won. I feel like Phil Jackson wanted to prove or have the triangle, win using the triangle instead of just win. And I think that there was times where Melo wanted to win taking the last shot, and that's a stupid way to go about things. All the great players, even Jordan, as many game winners he's had, we've seen many game winners where he's given the ball up, and he's the greatest. Come on, that's the threshold. Come on. You see LBJ, the same thing. You see Magic Johnson, the same thing. When you want to win, you don't give a fuck who gets the last shot. You don't care. You just want to win. I'm gonna dive on the floor and I'm gonna pass the ball to somebody. That's all you care about. So anyway, That's the Phil Jackson saga. So now everybody's mad at Jim Dolan. Let me tell you something. I love to work for Jim Dolan because he pays his people. That's one thing he does. We have an owner with deep pockets. If the Knicks ever get this situation together, the Knicks will be good for a very long time because Dolan will pay. He'll pay deep into the luxury tax. We're going to see how long Golden State does that because I know that Dolan will do that forever. He'll do it. He's not cheap. Say what you want to say. He could have got rid of Phil. People criticize him for not getting rid of him and then because you know what? Let's be real. All right, people want to say, why did Dolan let him pick the draft pick? You know what Dolan probably did? Dolan probably was like, nah, it's cool, he can pick it. But then when he started talking all this Kristaps shit, like, you really gonna, nah. See, you can't do this shit. You can't trade Kristaps. You can't even fuck around like that. Now you fucking with my bottom line business. So Phil had to go. Another thing I think Phil grossly underestimated is that we in a different time now. These millennials, you don't motivate them by antagonizing them. You motivate them by patting them on the back, by telling them how great they are. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. And there's nothing wrong with that. Negative motivation and antagonism doesn't work in today's player. It doesn't work in the league now. These guys are all millennials. It doesn't work that way. So he's still doing old shit. Then you talking shit about, he just did a lot of weird shit. And antagonizing at one time was good, but it's not good anymore. Talking shit about your best player. Now, I don't think he hurt Carmelo's trade value because everybody knows that they want to trade Carmelo. So once everybody knows they wanted to trade him, his value goes down. It had nothing to do with him talking about Melo. Once they knew he wanted to trade him, it didn't matter what he said after that. So anyway, so that's enough of Phil. I will not talk about Phil again, but I am thankful for Phil. He got Kristaps Porzingis. Even if he didn't scout him, he had to pull the trigger. He had to make the final call. So I'm happy he selected him. I'm happy he got Hernan Gomez. You know, I'm happy. So I don't know yet, but I think I'll be happy that he got Ntilikina. Because at the end of the day, if Ntilikina only averages 5 points in his rookie season, but plays that lock, plays really good defense, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be ecstatic. Because there's other people that can score the ball. So now, let me move on to Steve Mills. I wanted Steve Mills to get a shot anyway. I'm sorry, folks. Again, this is New York City. Just busy. I wanted Steve Mills to get a shot. And the reason why I wanted him to get a shot is because like everybody was saying, oh, he's been here through all those other regimes. How do you know he was making any decisions? I mean, I've worked in corporations before where you could be the second or third in charge, but you don't really make any decisions. You just gather information, and the boss, this many times you can recommend, and the boss be like, nah, we're going to do it this way. Because you got to understand, when you're not the decision maker, you don't take the heat. So I don't believe that Mills just had a job. Look at Mills' resume. I tell you, Google Steve Mills, look at his resume. It's ridiculous, man. This is a Princeton grad. This ain't no dummy. Oh, he's not. I heard one guy said, supposed sports guy, and this is how stupid shit is these days. He says, oh, he's not a basketball guy. Well, he played basketball at Princeton. His whole life is about basketball. He's not a basketball guy. And this love affair that Knicks fans and Knicks fans have with outside people until they get here and then they hate them. That's how it goes. I didn't want David Griffin. I remember saying before I knew, I went to bed, when I heard they was going to interview David Griffin, I remember going to bed, but before I went to bed, I was like, I don't want David Griffin. What has he done? Cleveland's good because LBJ went back. That's it. That's all. No more, no less. That's it. That's why he's good. That's exactly why they turned good. That's it. So I didn't want David Griffin. I'm happy that we didn't get David Griffin. But see, Knicks fans see it as, oh, God. And then a lot of people will say, oh, well, you know, because of the meddling and he didn't want to get rid of Steve Mills. Again, he's loyal. I don't agree with that. I think you should be able to bring in your own people. But that's why I felt like give Steve Mills a shot. You obviously trust him. He's been there for a while. Give him the shot. Because if they the guys who's doing all the work, they still got Clarence Gaines, they still got their scouting department. If these are guys that's always been doing the work and Phil's been the one just saying yes, yay, or nay, then let them guys run it. How does a R.C. Buford come about? Who was the GM of Portland Trailblazers? How does Sam Presti come about? Did you know about these guys before they had these jobs? Probably not. You got to give guys, I mean, look, the Knicks been losing. And I don't think, when I heard the contract for Tim Hardaway Jr., I did not think it was bad. I'm going to tell you, I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's bad. It's the going rate of the NBA, and people have not adjusted their minds that before the new CBA, before that boom in money, 17 million is the new 12 million. Or better yet, am I supposed to say it the other way around? 12 million is 17 million? Well, just think of inflation. So 17 million 5 years ago was 12 million. That's what it is. Come on. Look at these contracts. Alan Crabb, how much did he get? He got close to 100 million or 100 million? The guy from Miami, Tyler, he got, how much he got? Almost 100 million because the Nets maxed him out? Motherfucking Otto Porter got a max deal. Look at Otto Porter's stats and look at Hardaway's stats. Similar. And Hardaway didn't have John Wall. Kelly Oubre just got, not Kelly Oubre, I'm sorry. I like that name. That's why I say that, right? What's his name? KCP. Pope. Caldwell Pope. Just got 18 million from the Lakers. I don't think he averaged 10 points. Did he? Did he average 10 points last year? I mean, so I'm like, yo, y'all are bugging. You know why they said it was a bad move and he was overpaid? You know why they say he was overpaid? It's because the reason why they said he was overpaid is because he was already on the Knicks. Because a lot of people point that out. The Knicks had Hardaway. They traded him away. First of all, y'all got to realize something. And the Knicks fans who fell for this, don't fall for it. Because Steve Mills didn't trade Hardaway. They probably researched Hardaway and he probably liked Hardaway. Phil Jackson traded Hardaway. Steve Mills had the balls to say, I want my player back. I want him back. I scouted him. I know this guy. And you know what? Him going to Atlanta might have been the slap in the ass, the slap in the head, the wake-up call he needed. He changed as a player. Do me a favor. Go on YouTube and put Tim Hardaway versus Houston when he went for 36 points. Dude is nice. But remember, Tim Hardaway, Frank Ntilikina, Hernan Gomez are all support players to who? Kristaps Porzingis. And if he is what you think he is, the Knicks are doing the right thing. I wanted to keep Melo, but I realized that Kristaps he's too respectful of Melo. I remember that used to happen with Ewing. That we used to always get these players that were good, but when they would come here, they would be so scared of Ewing and they wouldn't play their game. Until we got Starks, who was literally out of his mind, and he's like, I'm shooting, Pat. I don't care. I'm going for mine. You need players like that. And the problem is, Kristaps with Carmelo, and when Derrick Rose is there, he does a lot of deferring. You take Melo out of there, I think you're going to see a different player in Kristaps. You're going to see a more aggressive player knowing he has to carry the load. And that's the thing, because I've seen actually games last year where Kristaps is going off, and then Melo comes back in the game and Rose comes back in the game. It's not that they're not passing him the ball. He starts getting passive. Okay, I'm going to stand by the three-point line. I'm going to set a couple of picks. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to get out the way. That's what he was doing last year. So that's why I believe that, sorry about this, folks. That's why I believe that Melo most likely has to be traded. They have to be traded. I can make an argument for keeping Melo for the simple fact is that the Knicks will make the playoffs. I believe they would if they kept Melo. I mean, three teams are going to tank next year. Atlanta's tanking, Chicago's tanking, and Indiana's tanking. All three playoff teams. So the Bucks was already in the playoffs. I expect the Pistons to move up. Certain teams to move up, but The only other teams is the Sixers, the Knicks, Brooklyn. Like, the Knicks can get in the playoffs next year. I think they might even have a chance to get in the playoffs after the Melo trade. If Kristaps is who y'all say he is, he's on his 3rd year. If Kristaps is really supposed to be that unicorn, he should be averaging at least 20 points or better. He needs to be the franchise this year. And if he is that, the Knicks will make the playoffs even if they trade Melo. Yes, I'm putting him on the spot because you know what? He better step up now, because I'm going to tell you right now, once Phil was taking all the heat, Phil's gone. Get Melo out of here is the next thing you heard. After Melo's gone, they're going to say a few things about Steve Mills, and then the heat and pressure solely will be on you, Kristaps Porzingis. So I'm letting you know, Knicks fans, vultures, they will be coming. They will be coming for you, bro. But you know, again, I think he's good. I do think he's as good. I think he needs to develop an overall game. You know, not just pick and pop. I hear people say that. He should just pick and pop. No, he needs to develop his entire game. And the issue I have with Kristaps Porzingis, he's 7'3" and he wants to play like he's 6'5". If he could just learn a jump hook, who's going to block that? Not only that, if he would just, another thing he does a lot on offense is he gets the ball, he brings it down and tries to dribble and gets it stolen. Dude, watch Kevin McHale. He never brings the ball below his shoulders. You need to foul him once he gets a rebound. So I think that those are the few things that he needs to work on. And I think he will, you know. But I really, I'm looking forward to next season. Most of all, I'm enjoying my summer. But I'm looking forward to next season. And like I said, Knicks fans, don't allow these narratives and these people, it's just entertainment. They're not doing any real analysis. Like, for example, Tim Hardaway Jr. is going to be playing for Jeff Hornacek in an up-tempo system, a wide-open system, similar to the Hawk system. He's 25, folks. You got to understand. I don't know if y'all really know this comparison, but I'm going to make a little comparison. To any of y'all folks who are listening. You ever lived in your neighborhood or whatever, and or maybe you go away to college, you know, you go away to college and, you know, you're just a regular dude and you go away to college and you learn some things and you know, you grow up. When you come back to where you're from, you're a different person. You're a different person. You're confident. You know who you are. And I think that going to Atlanta, what it did for Hardaway is let him know he belongs in his league. He's good. I'm not saying he's going to be a star. But I know one thing, he should definitely at least average 15. Oh, and now let me get to Ron Baker. I felt like the Knicks gave Ron Baker a little too much, but then again, you got to understand, though. There's a few things you got to think about. Sometimes, all these players love money. And eventually, for the Knicks to sign free agents, they're going to have to start winning. But after the winning, the next thing you got to look at is how do they take care of their own players? This is a guy who was undrafted. Now he got a $1 million contract, $4 million or $8 million, 8.9 for 2 years with a player option. So sometimes you take care of your players. I think Jeff Hornacek is in love with him. Don't be surprised if he starts the season as the starting point guard. I don't want that because I don't think he's a point guard. And in Jeff Hornacek's system, I don't really see him as the lead point guard. You probably need more of an athletic guy. But I'm going to reserve judgment because he's a hard-nosed guy. And then the thing is, think about this. So I heard they might keep, what's his name? Courtney Lee. Noah can't go nowhere. He's a positive for the bench and for the team anyway. Yes, his contract is ridiculous, but it is what it is. It's not my money. Now, Courtney Lee, I can see them going with a starting line. I want to see Ntilikina start. Hopefully, he's good enough to start. You know, all his protection and shit. I want to see him start. He's already played against grown men, but you need a viable backup. But let's just say, if your starting five is... Oh, and by the way, honorable mention, because I'm running out of time, Damian Dotson, I hope the Knicks sign him. They also invited the guy... Mays, I think Memphis. I'm getting all these names mixed up. He might not make the team. He got a camp invite. He's 6'4" point guard. I like him. Scoring point guard. I like that kid Jamel Artis too. I hope he makes the league. So, I'm telling you, surprised y'all haven't heard sirens yet. Trucks, buses. So when I look at it, sorry folks, I lost my train of thought. I did. I paid attention to the truck, but I'll just say this: Knicks fans, give yourself a break. Melo most likely will be traded, so. You know, the season starts in October now. I think October 17th. I think they want to stay away from the back-to-backs and the 4 games in 5 nights. They're really trying to do more radical things to try to make it better for the league. So anyway, there's going to be a lot to talk about. I mean, really, I had to come back. Like I said, I want to offer some sane analysis, get away from the gossip, get away from the anger. Look, man, we're in a better place. This ain't like when we had, or you might not remember if you're young enough, but we had Shandon Anderson, Clarence Witherspoon, and Howard Eisley on one team. To my old head Knicks fans, y'all know that team had no chance, and every year it would win like 35 games, 40 games, but it had no future. Dude, we have Kristaps Porzingis, he's going to be, 22 this year? In his 3rd year. This is the year. He got to break out. So that's why they're trying to get Melo out of here so he could do his thing. He got to break out. He got to do it. And again, I don't know if he's going to start at center or power forward, but if he starts at power forward, we got Hernan Gomez, who's 22. And I think I remember I think the starting lineup might be Ntilikina, Tim Hardaway Jr., Courtney Lee at the 3, which is not great, but it's not terrible because he can play D. Courtney Lee at the 3, Kristaps at the 4, and Hernan Gomez at the 5. Now, I'm going to tell you one thing I like about this team. If you playing an up-tempo game, high-octane, 3-and-D, pick-and-roll, three-point shot, penetrate, it's not a bad squad. Because I'm going to tell you like this. You got defense at the point guard. You got at least Hardaway's a better defender than people give him credit for recently. And you got Courtney Lee, who's already known as a good defender. And all 3 of them can shoot the 3. Then you got Kristaps, who also can shoot the 3. And Hernan Gomez eventually will be able to do that, but you don't need him to do that now. But he does have a decent enough jump shot. You know, so if that's a starting 5, that's not too bad. It's not too bad. And not only that, if they do sign, then you got Baker off the bench. And if they do sign Damian Dotson, which I hope they sign him, he's another 3-point shooter. See, that's what the Knicks got to start looking at, is who's going to be their bench. I like Jamel Artis, the small forward. I don't know if they're going to bring him to camp. You know, but remember, they still got Kuzminskis, who's going to be, he's 27, but he's going to be in his 2nd NBA year. Don't forget about him. You still got Lance Thomas, good culture type veterans. You know, you still got Kyle O'Quinn. I don't know if they're going to trade him. They may not. I think they just want to get rid of Melo. I think Melo's the only guy they want to get rid of. I mean, Melo and Rose. But anyway, this has been Knicks Home Court, episode number 35. You know, sorry about all the noise. I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait till I got home and sat in front of the mic and everything. I couldn't wait. So, you know, anyway, I'll try to do these weekly if I can, or whenever it comes up. I might do one for 10 minutes, one for 20 minutes, things like that. I am very busy right now in my personal life, so I'm trying to. But I again, when I hear ridiculousness and terrible narratives and lack of analysis, I feel bad, because a lot of Knicks fans out there, y'all just want to root for your team. Y'all don't want to hear all this bullshit. I listen to sports radio and it's the same thing. It's the same thing. So what's happening, that's why, another reason why I wanted to keep Melo, but I kind of want Melo to get traded, just so now the media is not going to have anything to talk about. They're not going to be able to say, well, the Knicks are just, no, the Knicks are completely tore it down. What's there to say now? Wait for next year. They haven't talked about Kristaps Porzingis' development, what needs to be done. I'm not hearing nothing but the same old stuff. So now, when you trade Melo, there's no more narratives left. And that's what I'm looking forward to. Anyway, folks, enjoy your summer. Like I said, I'm going to try to put up one every week or whenever the feeling hits me, whenever I hear bullshit on the radio, or I'm most likely going to do one. Or if some big news happens. All right? So, y'all take care and try to stay cool because it's like 95 out here. I'm burning up. Peace.